Hi, it's Sarah Jane here at Natural Heating, and today I'm going to take a look at the Clock Blithfield 5 inset stove. So this is the hole-in-the-wall version of the Blithfield 5. Fits into a standard 16-inch fireplace opening for those who want to use the hole in the wall that's already been there for an open fire without having to knock it all out and start replacing surrounds and hearths and lots of other different things. Because for many, this is a very viable option. So this is the Clock Blithfield INSET fire, which is a 5 kilowatt stove. And this type of fire fits into a hole in the wall. So where you've had an existing fireplace opening and it's 16-inch to 18-inch open fireplace, this part here fits into that cavity, and then this bit here sticks out the front. So it gives you a very traditional looking fire that still has a leg. It's very similar in size, really, actually, to a Clock Blithfield 5, except it recesses in the hole in the wall. So you've got the outlet collar that comes off at a very shallow angle off the top, probably about 15 degrees. And the flue goes in the inside. Oops, I'm just going to take these fixings out. I'm going to drop these. Right. So take this cover plate off for now, where the flue outlet goes, so you can see what's underneath. So what you'll see here is that's just the cover, and this collar drops down inside the stove for connection internally. So we'll take it all out. So all the same controls as you would normally have. You've still got your bottom and top air control, your primary and your secondary, which are controlled by these dials. And you've got a nice ash pan and Multifuel grate in the inside. It's a good sized firebox in there. It's deep, it's very square. We will get a tape measure in a minute and have a look at that. Great big deep ash pan. Feels like it's going to go on forever. That ash pan has got to be, that's 6 inches. So I'd say we're looking at 10 inches wide by 14 inches deep, 350-ish. Good size. We'll have a measure in a minute. So this baffle is going to have to push up and out for the sides to come out to drop that collet down. So let's just have a go, will we? That's one panel out. Then the comes out the inside. And here is our flue hole. So you can see how we just undo that collar and drop it down in. This is the baffle out the inside. So we've got vermiculite lining onto a very heavy, thick gauge steel baffle that slots in at the top. Just up in there. It's a 5-inch diameter flue outlet. And as you can see there, we have got 3 screws to remove to drop that down inside the stove. Nice big heavy duty fuel retaining bar. And the sides are obviously stepped in to meet the body. So I'll just put that liner panel baffle back in, which was, you saw me take it out, I did it with one hand. Let's see if we can put it back in the same way, tilt it to the side. Now I'm gonna have to put the other side in with the other hand to put it back into place, but it's pretty easy to take in and out, there's no fixing screws. So Clock always know what they're doing, but there's not a lot of gap in here at all at the top, which for an inset stove probably means Might need a wee bit more effort to get it going and up to temperature. We're soon going to find out. But it should also mean that there's very little heat loss up the fluid. I can understand why they've done this from a highly efficient point of view. So let's lie back and look upwards. Right, so we'll see what you can see, but this is the top of the air wash on the inside. You can see there's not a huge gap in there. And as far as the inside of the stove goes, there's superb coverage, which is going to be really good for throwing the heat out the front. But I imagine it makes it maybe that little bit trickier to get going and up to temperature. But we'll soon have a go and find out. Is an inner convection box, and I wonder if this one feels like it does. Right, it's amazing what you find out when you start to read the manual. There's an inner and an outer case to this stove, and you have to take the outer case off first. So here was me thinking that these bolts was just so that you could move the collar up and down a little bit, and didn't think they were too important. They're a lot more important than it seems. So first of all, we're going to take these back off again, and the collar does come out the inside, but I'm going to take the inners out because I need to take that collar out, and this casing comes off the front, and we need to remove the inner from the outer. Alrighty, so let's get started. We'll have all these bits back out again. These bolts that go on the top, take an M10 socket or spanner, and it's not the same size on the inside. That'd be too easy, wouldn't it? It looks like these are probably an M12, but we see. Right. 13mm spanner for these ones that's in here to get these collars out, to get these screws out for this collar. So we'll get that out, be back. Right, so I had to give this a damn good tug to get it out. It's probably been tacky off the paint, and it has slightly shredded that gasket. And that's not the first time I've had this on a manufacturer's gasket. I've been struggling with another gasket on Inset Fires just the other day. And what I'd like to say to manufacturers is, if you're going to put these gaskets in there, can you please wrap them up in some cardboard and put them on the inside so we're not damaging them and have to make new ones before we even fit the fire, because it's sticking to the paint on the inside. And I can actually see that you've stuck it on with silicone. So no, it's not going to come off very easily, but it still means I need something else to patch these big rips in that gasket. So yeah, we could all learn a bit from this, couldn't we? You can see where that's stuck to the paintwork and pulled bits of the gasket, which, yeah, just put me the gaskets in loose, huh? Right, so as you can see now, what we've done is when we've taken that collar off, because it bolts right through the tube, we've loosened off the inner box, which goes in first. Okay. Right, this may be helpful for some. It does show you in the manual that you should be insulating that firebox on the sides, rear and top of the cassette, which is what I would expect on decent inset stoves. And it also tells you not to loose fill, so you're going to have to use solid or blanket wrap, which is fine and good. And it also shows you that we've got bolts for the bottom feet in the hull. All right, so this isn't the normal setup, but this is the box for the casing that goes into the wall, and that will be the leg locator bolts. You're looking at it upside down for locating into position within the hole. Seems good to me. We'll get that in place. Now I'm going to fit this onto a straight flue rather than an MA onto a liner, because obviously I haven't got a liner. This is on my test rig. So I need a 15-degree bend, and I probably need to change this tube for now. Get the idea. Need to borrow somebody else, but you know, you get the idea. The liner will come down the inside, which will also come down the inside of there once the two are located together, and then pushes and connects back up from the inside. There's a good amount of slack in that collar, so I'm going to go and rope it. It's just to allow variation of different flue outer diameters, because they do vary from make to make, especially on liner connectors. Some liner connectors you'd get like 125 mil or 130 mil. This is 125 mil pipe. So I'm going to go and rope it. So from looking at the studs on the inside of the stove, the one at the bottom is straight up. So this is going to be my bottom, not the top. So I want to line that up with the center point of my pipe. I want it that way around to get it straight, because this is the bend to take up my angle. So I line that up with this hole. It's just so that I make sure when I put the rope in here and I stick it all back in place, I don't end up with the wrong way around, or I won't be able to connect it. Too clever. Got enough stuff today without doing the same job twice. Righty-ho, so I've roped all this up with fiberglass rope, and I'm now going to go and connect it. So there are location studs there that are sticking out, that are fixed to the stove, as you can see. So here we go with the flue. So, yeah, I do need two hands. You just need both of them. Whatever angle. Basically, this should, and of course, this should be bolted down to the floor. And in this case scenario, I've not got it bolted down to the floor because it's only going in here temporary. This might be a little bit tricky. One's literally got to go into the other. And then we put the flue and everything back together from the inside. Right, so the flue is basically going to come up through the inside of the stove and locate over the bolts that are sticking through. And then, if I can get them all on the holes, and bolt up from the inside. And at that point, I'll be able to bring the flue down and connect into this one. Now, usually that would be an MA adapter onto the edge of a flexible liner, but you need to use your imagination for that one. Alright, so interestingly, I spotted something worth a little bit of consideration. So, so they're next to each other, if you can, I decided to get another clock out of the warehouse and open the box, so we can try and have these two quite close together. And typically I'm making a horrible mix. Just put all this out the way for now. Now, I don't know if you can see me from over there, but this is a Clock Blithfield 5. And the front of a Clock Blithfield 5 is just shy of 535 millimetres wide. Now, this is currently on a pallet, so it's stood off the ground, so it's not a fair representation. But this here is 535. And if you look, is the same size on the inset fire. So the front size of the Clock Blithfield 5 and the front size of the inset fire are actually the same. So do you know what they've done? What they've done is, look at the view from up there, exactly my own in here. So the Clock Blithfield 5 and the Clock INSET 5 have the same size front. That also means they'll have the same size door and they'll have the same glass. So it really could be worth consideration. If you can't fit Clock Blithfield 5 in your space because it's too small, have a think about the INSET. Because the INSET, going into standard fireplace opening, will be a bloody good stove, I'm sure. And we're about to see how well it runs. Now the firebox is a bit different on the inside. It's a completely different shape. And I'm going to take you and bring you over here so we can have a bit of a closer look. So I'm going to take you for a closer up look inside both of these models so that we have a comparison since we've got my tape measure with me. Right, we'll look at the INSET. So here is the INSET stove. And as you can see, it's smaller across the back for going into the hole in the wall, with a standard fireplace opening is typically 400 millimeters or so wide, and possibly 450 if it's an 18-inch versus a 16-inch, and this casing is 390. Whoops. Ugh. Just under 390 millimeters wide. Now, it has got a rather cavernous firebox in here. So, the firebox itself, just to give you an idea, I'm having a right old fight with this tape measure tonight. That firebox is 13 inches or 330 millimeters deep, with an internal width of 290 millimeters. So it's easy going to take your 10-inch split lugs. It's got a cracking big ash pan that feels like it goes on forever. Goes right back in there deep. So this is the deeper model than the Clock Blithfield 5. Now the Clock Blithfield 5, it's a bit wider inside, obviously, because the firebox is the full width. It doesn't move back. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't recess into the hole. You've got a wider box, but you've also got a shallower box. So this one is 430 wide by 230 deep. Now, here's the ash pan from the 5. And here is the ash pan from the INSET. And if I show you the size of these, one on top of the other is exactly the same size, just the other way around. So really, we can expect the same sort of output, performance of the INSET to what we can out of the freestanding model. So I'm really quite excited about lighting this. I'm not excited about the smoking because they do stink a bit when you first light them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to light it up and get the start of the burn done today, and then have another go at it tomorrow once it's defumed itself, because these can smoke kind of bad. And it's nice to just get it burnt on. I'm going to evacuate the place and leave it for the night, and then bring it up to better temperature tomorrow once it's dissipated and I'm not here. Because contrary to popular belief, I do still have a home to go to on occasion. When I like to show face. And there's always cake to make for work. What would we do without cake in here? Heck, you don't complain at me when you come in and get no coffee and cake. There's always got to be cake. Back to our little INSET fire. I have... Now, actually, this is a point taken. I've just put that log in that stove. And I don't want to put that log in. Yes, it fits in from front to back. Now, if you're like me, you probably think because this stove is deeper that we want to load it from front to back. But that might not be a good thing. I'm going to put it in widthways, and then I'm going to explain to you why. Now, we really want to load this firebox widthways, not from front to back. Now, you can get it in there from front to back. And as you can see, there's stacks of space to get that 10-inch long log in there. My hand's at least 4 inches wide, so we could easily get a 14-inch log in there. but I'm not going to do that. Definitely going to load them this way round. And the reason for that is wood is grained tubular fibres. So when the log is burning, it will release more gases from through the ends. So by having the wood end on, could give you a much blacker deposit on your glass. So we really don't want, it's also the saying, we don't want to burn logs upright, because it burns wood on end. In other words, it rips from the core right the way through. So we want to lie these flat, obviously, in a wood burner, and we want to put them in sideways rather from front to back. If I get time with this unit, I'll maybe actually have a go the other way around and see what it does just to record it for you. But this stove has already got home to go to, and it's being fitted either Thursday or Friday this week, and it's already Tuesday night, about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. So I don't have an awful lot of time to play with this little guy. So we better get on with it, hadn't we? So I'm just putting some kiln dry birch in there and some kindling on top, and building a nice kindling pile in there. And heavens only knows where I've left my fire lighters. Whoops! I've left a tape measure there because I've just stood on it. I'm probably going to break my neck over all this packaging. Let's have a fire lighter out here. And I have no idea. Oh yeah, there's my blowtorch over here. Right, they now have the fire lighters. Let's stick a fire lighter in there. And another few bits of kindling on top. Now, air vents are both fully open, which is good. I'm having one of these days today, but I'm not really paying enough attention to what I'm doing. We'll be fine. I didn't have that retainer bar in properly, but I do now, and that'll be plenty good enough. Let's have the door slightly ajar. And get her started. So she's lit, she's up and running. It won't take long. I mean, this may be a really absurd system with 3 flues on it that I use as a test rig. That means typically it can struggle. But do you know what? It's taken away quite nicely. I never have problems with lighting clocks, I really don't. We always use the upside down fire lighting method where the kindling goes in the top and the logs go in the bottom. And it's nice to try and start with some kiln dried or some softwood if you can, just because it makes lighting so much easier. Always put the kindling on the top and never on the bottom because we're trying to push all that cold air up and out the chimney. So as soon as the kindling has burnt down, the logs catch on fire below very, very easily with zero hassle. I mean, they always light first time. There are never any issues. So yeah, we're just going to give this a start and get up to temperature and bake it on. And it should run just exactly like a normal Clock Blithfield would. I'm not expecting it to be any different at all. It's extremely well insulated. It's solid. It's built like a brick outhouse, typical of clocks. They're really robust units. It is a convection body, so it's a body that fits inside a casing to push even more heat out the front, which we're then going to insulate and wrap when you put it into wall. And if you do as the manufacturers tell you and insulate it well, you should get really good performance and heat output. If you don't insulate these, and some people try and skip on that step, it does make a big difference insulating inset fires. It honestly does, because when you don't insulate them, you're not When you've got a stove inside, an inset stove inside a fireplace, you don't have a register plate. And the register plate is the plate that's at the top that keeps all the heat in the fireplace opening. So realistically, it is essential that we wrap this in our cassette in insulation material, because that we use a thick foil backed insulation material when we wrap them, and we make sure that that bottom part of the fireplace opening is really well filled with wrap, because we don't want the heat loss up the chimney. We want all that heat coming out into your room where you want it to. And a properly fitted inset fire should be up there nearly as good as a freestanding stove, that you really shouldn't notice a lot of difference. Whereas several years back, they were pretty chronic, really, especially when people never used to back insulate them. And loose fill insulation like vermiculite is typically one of the worst. It's a nightmare to deal with, especially if it's all got to come back out. So we use a wrap if we're wrap insulating liners. But not every liner needs wrapped. We do wrap the likes of clay lump or chimneys that need attention because they've got timbers in or at risk of fire or various other different things, or they're really, really cold, really, really big voids. We don't wrap all of them. Not every chimney physically needs wrapped, but the actual casings around inset fires do need wrapped. It does make massive, massive difference. My mum and dad have an inset fire, and when their inset fire was originally put in, the heat output that they were achieving into the room was actually quite disappointing, because the installer I don't think he'd done inset fires actually at that point. This was back up in Scotland. I sent the fire up and a local guy installed it, and he's very good. But I don't think he had actually insulated or done many insets at that point, and he went back and he insulated it, and the difference is tremendous. It's a lovely fire. The heat output to the room's nice, and maybe I'll video that one for you when I go up at Christmas, because they've got an Inspire inset fire at Little Heta, and that's a fabulous little fire. Anyway, I can see while I'm talking to you that this is going away good guns and really picking up nicely behind me. And although the body of the unit will take quite some time to heat up, I can actually feel it on my shoulders now. It's starting to heat the casing quite nicely. I can actually feel the heat behind me. And I'm a good... I would say that hearth is about 14 inches deep in front of me. Will we have a wee look and just check? And I'm sat about 6 inches in front of that. So I'm probably sitting about 20 inches away from the fire. Not very far, but close enough that it's warming my shoulder and not too close that I'm cooking. Not yet anyway. Right, so that hearth is 14 inches deep in front, from the legs of the front of the fire. And it's coming up to temperature quite nicely now. The logs have actually caught, so it's time to be able to shut the door and let her fully heat up. And I'm really just gonna get this going for now, leave it on full bore, let it heat through, get it to start cooking the paint on and get a bit fumey and whatever. And once it does that, I'm gonna pack up and leave and go home for the night, and then I'll come back and burn her again tomorrow. But in all honesty, it should perform and heat up and control like any other clock, because it's the same type of controls that's on it. But we'll have another go tomorrow, will we? Just to finish off. But yeah, it's a smart looking unit, and the size capacity, the inside, is really quite surprising when you see that the ash pans for both are the same size. They do have the same internal capacity, therefore. So it's a good size burner. Don't discredit it because you think it's narrow, because it's bigger than it looks. Well, looking at it from face on and this angle, you wouldn't actually tell it's not a Blithfield 5. It's just the fact that obviously this is sticking out on the front and would be recessing into the wall, but it's just a clock. Like that clock. The front is just the same. Entirely the same. But the depth is different. Now this has only been going, 5 minutes at that. That's my kindling that you're still seeing on the top. But you see, that's way deep in there. But the baffle and everything's already starting to clear. It's heating up nicely. The air controls are still open because I really want it to start going off. I can start to smell the paint. I can start to see the paint. Do you see it? That's the paint coming off the casing. In fact, it'll be the inner casing rather than the outer casing. There's a video that I did, yeah, it'll be the inner box that's in there inside this one. We'll be having smoke everywhere in a minute. But if you've seen one of my other videos I did on clocks curing, you'll see that these do smoke quite a lot, and it is a good thing to get over and done with the windows open, and which is why I want to come back and probably play with this a lot more tomorrow. Yeah, that top is starting to take a slight heat, as is the body casing at the back. It's not hot yet, but the inner back casing will be. Yeah, I can feel a little bit of heat coming off of there, but there's loads of heat coming out the front. Loads of heat coming out the front. And that's the paint starting to bake on. Now, with the clock, as in the same with its freestanding brother, sister, and sibling, whichever you want to be, then you have got two air controls, your primary and your secondary, both of which are controlled at the bottom. I've turned both of them down. It's nowhere near up to heat yet, but you can see that it takes about 10 seconds to shut down the air to give best effect. And my fire is not actually anywhere near at temperature yet. So we'll have a bit of a play with this tomorrow. And put her through our paces again. And for now, as soon as this wood burns down, I'm gonna load it up with a couple of nice logs. I'm going to beat log home and leave it to it. Let it do its stuff and let it burn off its paint. It's quite exciting though, isn't it? Gotta love a new stove. It's always good fun. What's better fun than trying all the new ones? And it's always learning something new. It doesn't look anything like the same size from the outside, but it really is a TARDIS. You open this up and you can see the size of the ash pans that fit in each don't lie. They're the same internal volume. So, yeah, it's a bit of a sneaky one, isn't it? Right, so something else I've just noticed that you might be quite interested in, and that this bit is starting to get quite warm. It's not getting hot yet. It will get hot. I'm sure it'll get hot. So there's quite a reasonable clearance distance from combustibles because this bit sticks out the front, yeah? And I'm going to say that's about 5 inches deep. Where did that tape measure go? I keep standing on it. Right. Oops. 5 inches. Near enough, 130mm deep. That's how much sticks out the front of the wall. So if that gets hot, I'm hoping that we'll be able to run a fan on top of that, because I can't see any reason why not. With this bit sticking out the front of the fireplace opening, means that you're basically, this is your clock here, from front to back. And why the ash pan is the same sort of size. Because front to back, we're looking at 470mm without an overhang. Oh no, we have got an overhang. The overhang goes to about there. So, right, to about there. So I'm going to say we've got about 450mm depth from the back to the front door. And if you look, excluding the overhang, on this one, that's why your ash pan is about the same, because this is about the actual body width of the clock. Laminations, it's not easy to do and hold the phone on one hand and the tape measure on the other. So we're looking at 490 across the feet. but the body is slightly narrower than the feet. So yeah, really very similar. If you turn it round between, you measure the depth and the top. So I'd say these two are pretty much the same animal, although this one's deeper and narrower in the inside and that one is wider and shallower. And as we mentioned, the same size front. Now, it is a convection box, so my legs are going to toast, but the top is starting to get really quite warm. That bit there is getting kind of hot. This bit, that's not hot at all. That is totally cool on the sides. So we're getting a bit of heat coming through the top. Not a lot of heat through the sides. This top bit here is getting hot. Ow! Yeah, okay. This bit here is hot. This bit here on the front is hot. Yeah, so these front leg bits at the moment are the hottest part of the fire, other than the glass door. The chamber itself that goes in the wall really isn't getting that hot at the moment. And don't forget, we would be insulating this. The back is currently stone cold. There's no heat in there. There's very little heat in there. Do you think I'd have my hands on that? Honestly, it's cool to the touch. It's cool to the touch. On the sides of the actual convection box at the moment and the back. So it's doing its job well in pushing all the heat out through these front vents and into the room, because the only bit of this casing really that's getting hot, apart from that little bit there, is the front of this door. This is warm at the moment, but not red hot, but these sides were hotter, and I'm not going to do that again. I certainly didn't burn myself, but there's a good amount of heat in there in those sides. It's not hot enough to run a fan yet, but I'm going to go and get one. So that didn't take long. Yeah, it's heating up quite quickly. See, that's my Valiant Premier 4 fan, or Premium 4, and the fan is starting to take away already. So these spin at quite a low temperature. They have got a low start temperature on these fans, but they do take, that's getting warm. That's getting hot. I'm not going to want my hand on there for too much longer, because it is getting nice, like a hot radiator. There's hot spots on the sides. So down there is not too bad. This bit here on the top upper side by the corners of the door, that bit is starting to get quite warm. Let's see, I've got full air open at the moment, but I'm trying to get a lot of heat out. This room is freezing. There's no heating on in here at the minute. It's now, let me say, 8 o'clock at night, and it's chilly in here. So yeah, we've only had one stove on all day today, and this is a big warehouse area. And it takes a lot of heating, and one stove isn't enough to heat this place. But I didn't need it on. I didn't need lots on. It's not a Saturday. And on an evening when I'm in here on my own, I've got some body fat to burn off. I'm on a diet. I'm doing quite well, but yeah, I'd rather shiver, thanks very much. And it actually feels the effects of what happens when I'm getting some heat out of the stove. And this is heating up nicely. You can see by my face, I'm getting nice and warm. Even though the building's cold, it's going to be about 14 degrees in here, probably. It's not warm by any stretch of the imagination this evening, and there hasn't been any heating on in here in hours. And yeah, this is getting nice and hot. I'm getting a wee bit of warmth, tiny bit of warmth through the sides of that casing, but not an awful lot, and that's good, because we don't want the heat in the walls, we want the heat in the room. And it seems to be convecting out nicely through the front of the holes. I can feel the heat coming out through the whole front of that fire. So I'll turn the primary air down now, which is your bottom air vent, and then that just leaves us all the control on the top air, which is our left hand side. So you can see the fans going fast now because it's all blurry. So that means it's really picking up nicely in heat temperature. It's going a lot faster than it looks, it's just blurry. So let's turn the air down and stabilise it. I'm not looking to turn it right down, I just want to stabilise it, let it burn and bake itself in and do its stuff. And it runs just like any other clock. And if you've seen my other clock videos, you know what a clock does. I don't think I need to burn this for you tomorrow. All I need to do is burn it for the customer and get rid of the paint. And I've got the video we all needed. We can see what it does. We can see how it takes to bits. We can see how it goes together. We can see how it's going to fit in a hole. We can see that a fan runs on it. And it's got loads of good control on it. I've turned it right down now. And you'll see that that's going to quickly come in to check. This is DEFRA, so the DEFRA air vent will be open on it, so it won't shut right down. But this is burning kiln dried wood, kiln dried birch, which does burn really nice and quick. It's burning nice and clean. It's plenty slow enough. As you'll see, because I've still got some black residue in that firebox, it's not fully up to temperature yet. But you can't expect much in the 15-20 minutes since I started playing with this. And like all the other clocks, you can control by your hair's breadth and it will do what you ask it to. So there's plenty of control on this. For an inset fire, it's really good and I like it. I'll maybe video it in the morning and see how much ash there is in the inside of it or how much dirt there is on the door on it. It's not even smoking as bad as I thought it might. I just maybe haven't got that casing hot enough yet. So I'm just going to leave her for this evening. In case there is no more to show you because it does the stuff and I don't need to do anymore, then I might just leave you with this. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video from Natural Heating on the Clock INSET fire. And I'm sure my customer will enjoy it too when it goes in his house before Christmas later this week. If I'm lucky, I might even get a picture with the Christmas tree. Everybody loves a picture of their new fire with a Christmas tree. But to those of you who've been watching, I hope you all have a lovely Christmas. And I might be back in the next week or so with I've got another one planned before Christmas, if I've got time. So we'll see if we can fit it in. And if I don't, I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas with your new fires, or thinking about your new fires. And I hope Santa's good to you. And everybody's welcome in the new year. Wherever you fancy, do pop in for a coffee and a chat and a wander. And you're always welcome here at Natural Heating. We like visitors, especially you guys. Take care and have a good one. All the best for 2024. Right, this is actually nicely up to heat now. It seems to have stopped smoking or baking the paint on. So I think we're just about there. It's gone off quicker than I expected. And the air is actually turned quite well down on this. So I'm going to turn it up to show you the difference. The air mix. Now you probably saw that brighten immediately. We'll stick another small piece on. Fan's spinning away, so you can tell that the front's hot, the top's hot. These side bits here are really very, very hot. The casing, that bit there on the top's hot. The side's not too bad, but that bit there, this bit here, that bit there, I know this bit will be wrapped, but this bit here won't. That's kind of hot, yeah? And I don't know that you'd want that in direct contact with either plaster or marble. Granite maybe, because granite's harder, but certainly brickwork or, ouch, metal plate, yeah, that is hot, very hot, okay? You get the idea.